Minonia does want to lose 6,000 pounds. This is the latest we've ever gone to start losing money in the 20 or so years I've worked here. We need more than one plant up and running. Monica Beets gave up her claim to the gold because she worked harder than everyone else and never got thanks for it. She wasn't weak, so she didn't leave. The work was too much for her, and no one thanked her. She helped people think, but it wasn't until she had a child that she realized what was important. Pay attention, because everything went wrong when she left, even her dad, Tony Beets. People don't talk when they weigh gold. Monica Beets wasn't just the daughter of a very rich miner. The Klondike is a frozen desert where days go on into nights and every creek sound like a challenge. She was the calm in a storm that never ended. When she was 12, she was given the keys to a front-end loader and told to drive it without any help or instructions. No one was looking. There were no second chances. There was only forward movement, work, and results. That was her childhood. In that sense, it was expected. She wasn't broken in that moment. It made her unique. What she found under the ice, though, changed everything. Our top screen has a hole in it. How bad is it? I'm not allowed to do 2 runs. After that, Monica grew along with the goldfields. She didn't read instructions or watch someone else work to learn. She had to learn because she had no other choice. When things got stuck, she unblocked them. When the workers were unsure, she told them what to do. Monica had to earn her authority in a world that didn't always value softness or silence. While her brothers took on their jobs with confidence and help, she couldn't live on that land. With great care, she carved it open. It's nice to be sledding because we're moving toward our 6,000-ounce goal instead of doing nothing. She didn't have to prove she belonged to fit in. She was the reason other people did. She was in charge of teams twice her age and ran day-to-day operations at Paradise Hill. She was known for both being trustworthy and giving good orders. Every ounce of gold that had been cleaned went through the machine she ran. She was behind every choice that saved time or kept tools from being thrown away. But for every win, she carried a broken promise, the claim she was told she would get. Tony Beets was a natural force. He was tough, determined, and very proud of himself. He always gave Monica hints that one day she would have her own land, a piece of land she could take over without being asked. That promise was always just out of reach. She never said anything bad. She didn't have time. She threw herself into the work like she was trying to avoid being let down. The Hester cut finally showed up. The ice on 3 acres of promise that hasn't been used yet is heavy with unspoken expectations. It's already getting through that dike. Take a look. It starts as a small stream but quickly grows into a river. I'm glad I made it on time. Tony thought the land had treasure that the old dredgers had missed. For Monica, it meant something even more unusual. Finally, her name was on something that her father hadn't touched first. She put everything she had into the claim. It became personal for every hydraulic hose, chain, and hard-to-move yard of pay dirt. The Yukon doesn't care about private things, though. Backward steps came like storms. Something broke down. The road connection fell apart. The weather was bad for her and didn't get better. She still showed up. The papers didn't show that she owned it. The credits rarely talked about her work, but they did talk about the progress she made. My plant got 1,000 ounces from just my plant, which she fixed when it broke down in the dark. She was in charge of crews that didn't trust her power. She worked even though she was tired while other people rested. She did it because it was hers, not for money or praise. She thought it was anyway, up until she thought that the land would always be someone else's no matter how hard she worked. The Yukon wasn't done trying her, but she was still good. One day there was no one in her spot on the site, not a single statement or goodbye, just the dull hum of machinery filling the space where her voice used to keep the noise level steady. Good. Evan, do you copy? Evan? The bigger rocks have dropped on our little screens and are going to tear them apart. There are also big frogs on the screens. Monica wasn't there, and her absence hurt more than any broken tools. No one else played her part. No one took her place as the quiet leader. The operation kept going, but something very important changed. People who watched didn't see how the long days hurt her. She worked even though she was sick. Others didn't trust her, but she led them. She dealt with family problems while running complicated multi-million-dollar businesses. She did it even though everyone told her to smile, act, and be quiet. There was no stop button for when she needed to take a break. There were only demands when she needed help. The Yukon doesn't reward being honest about how you feel. It awards good work. Monica married Taylor Miles in 2018, which was a quiet event that wasn't filmed. Their baby was born in 2021. That one event changed everything for someone who had dealt with explosions, floods, injuries, and loss all her life. When she held a child, she felt a silence she had never felt before. The silence of peace, not the quiet of not being there. Toronto turned into a new kind of gold. It didn't shine. It wasn't weighed or checked for quality. It gave Monica time, air, and room, and she could breathe without worrying about missing a target for the first time in years. She wasn't just leaving the Yukon, she took a step toward herself. But it wasn't land. treasure or gold that changed her in the end. It was a lot smaller and stronger than that. Tony didn't often show his feelings about things, but even he felt the loss. Others saw it in the way he looked at maps for longer than normal, and the number of times he asked Monica about things she used to know by heart. Something had changed, and no one else could bring the same thing she did. Things changed more than anyone thought they would when she left. There was an empire that forgot its heart, and the Beets name was important in the Yukon. It wasn't just worth gold or land, it had a character that made men think before they spoke. Tony Beets, the patriarch, had grown a small mining business into a full-fledged kingdom that was based on fear and obsession. His voice sounded like gospel on the walkie-talkies. His appearance was like an excavator going full speed across Paradise Hill. What was really going on, though, was a machine that was too big for one person to guide, and Monica had been keeping it from falling over for years. The myth was shaped by Tony's charm, but Monica formed the system. Her touch wasn't staged. It was a strategy. From behind clipboards, grease guns, and plans that no one else read, she rebalanced the whole thing. The choices she made saved time. Following her gut saved her money. Having her around raised confidence. Still, the machine saw her as nothing more than a spare part. Useful, but can be replaced. There were cracks in the family business as it grew. It was no longer just a claim that Paradise Hill existed. It was a society based on stress, TV schedules, and unrealistic demands. The cameras caught the yelling and the sparks, but not the stress in Monica's eyes when another hydraulic system broke down in the middle of her shift. They didn't record the work she did late at night, or the moment she realized that, even though she was in charge of a growing business. "Hi Monica, what do you have? Are you down?" "Yes." It looked like the tailings hopper was going to smoke. "Yes." "You guys found out what was wrong, right?" "It looks like a hinge to me." Still, she wasn't seen as one of the people who built it. There was never a formal boardroom, clear job names, or clear roles for leadership. Everything became more like family relationships in terms of who yelled the loudest. Monica did not yell, she behaved. And in a world full of loud people with big egos, that meant being ignored a lot of the time. It felt like a door finally opened when the Hester cut was given to her. Just enough to let her in, not all the way. For the first time, her mark was on the claim from the very beginning. She scouted the land, made a plan of the drainage, and made sure that everyone knew when to bring their tools. It was never an event. It was really tough work. She believed that the land could bring her the fame that the business had never had. But nature doesn't care about feelings. It doesn't reward the right thing to do. Early in the season, storms came through. It wasn't possible for the ground to melt as planned. It was a bad time for the loaders to break down. The road going into and out of the cut turned into soup. Monica stuck with it through every failure, missed goal and failed part. When she finally hit pay dirt, the weight of what she had done sat heavy in her chest. It wasn't that she wanted credit, but no one gave it to her. The Beets family was sold by Discovery Channel as a show. Tony plays the Wild King, and the boys play his devoted sons. Monica didn't follow the rules. She wasn't loud enough. She didn't throw anything. If a machine broke, she didn't swear at it. She fixed them. Her father became more well-known, and the show's numbers went up, but she stayed on the edges of the picture. Monica had a lot on her plate before she married Taylor Miles. Getting ready for a wedding in the middle of mining season meant juggling deliveries of fuel and tools, and family problems at the same time. She still made room for happiness. It was fun to take pictures of her. She began a new life, but she still had to deal with the problems from the old one. She was at the altar, but part of her mind was still in the Yukon. That's what years of training to stay alive do. They take away your peace. Something changed when her daughter was born 3 years later. Not in a big way or in public, but deep down. Monica felt a duty for the first time in her life that wasn't tied to making money or output. It had nothing to do with ounces, predictions, or machine uptime. Being there and staying was what it was all about. The Yukon doesn't let you be still. It needs to be moved. But Toronto, away from the loud noise of engines and the cold metal air, was peaceful and full. Monica's inner calculation changed when she held her daughter in the soft light of a quiet morning. All of a sudden, the numbers in mining stopped making sense. It felt like guilt instead of pride. There is a lot of gold on Paradise Hill, 5,000 ounces. I mean, it's pretty easy. More mud, more water, and more gold. At the same time, Paradise Hill changed slowly and awkwardly. The crew switched around who did what. Tony filled in the blanks with muscle and bulk. Kevin worked harder than ever on mechanics, but his balance got worse. It got harder for Monica to make the smooth changes she used to do. Maintenance delays kept adding up. Due dates were missed. It wasn't disastrous, but it was noticeable. These are the kinds of flaws that cause stress without a clear cause. The show kept making movies. The empire kept getting bigger. But the operation's heart felt lighter, and not in a good way. No one at Beets said much. That was how they did things. But the questions were still there. Would she come back? Could she change her mind?
had a problem that they couldn't fix. They didn't ask straight out. Even though they didn't say they needed her, Tony struggled more with sitemaps and Kevin started asking things that Monica used to answer without being asked. People who watched noticed. There was a lot of talk about it on online sites. Where did Monica go? Why wasn't she in the most recent show? Fans missed her, not because she was dramatic, but because she brought balance, confidence and energy to the show that kept it all in check. He's going to make some holes in the seal and then bolt the steel and rubber to this plate. Monica didn't talk to the press back in Toronto. There are no claims or statements. There is only room in life. Taking care of a child, getting back on her feet, and remembering what it was like to sleep without machines running in the background. There was no frostbite and no clocks to wake you up at dawn. Just slow mornings. It's still hard to get rid of the weight of heritage. Heaven Hill was in her blood. The tools, the land, and the beat all lived inside her. She sometimes had dreams about the old life that broke the quiet of her new life. It's just echoes, not remorse. Her leaving wasn't a sign of resistance. It was a way to protect yourself. Things weren't broken, but they also weren't working the same. Monica Beets didn't leave the Yukon to protest because she knew that silence was stronger than words. She didn't yell, slam doors, or demand to know what was going on. She just took a step back. Like how mountains go away behind clouds, or how winter turns into spring without notice. She was in charge of the workers, oiled the machines, and fixed problems one day before anyone else saw them. The next day, she wasn't. Not a big deal, not an announcement, just a break in the system. And it shook the kingdom like a broken gear that could not be fixed. To everyone else, she was still Tony Beets' daughter. She was a supporting figure in a family where the father ran things, the brothers ran the rigs, and Monica filled in the blanks. That was never true though. The truth was easier to understand and much less pleasant. She set everything up, not loud or flashy but very important. Her leaving didn't stop Beets from working, but it threw everything off. The Yukon isn't graceful. It doesn't reward kindness or silence. It puts loyalty to the test in the strangest ways. Grit, time, and stubbornness are what it takes to stay alive. She had all three. But having grit won't keep you from getting burned out. Not giving up doesn't help when you're stuck in a trailer at midnight, waiting for parts that won't come for 3 more days. And time doesn't matter when people make promises they don't plan to keep. Even though she didn't leave in a big way, it was like taking out a bearing from a machine that was still going full speed. It was only a band-aid, but let's hope it works. We can start now at least. And well, let's hope it works. The machine made noises. The mood changed. It used to feel smooth and sure, but now it felt flimsy, and no one seemed to know how to fix it. Tony didn't say anything about it. He kept going and making plans. But people who knew him well saw the signs. Even though he yelled more, he paused longer. He wanted results but didn't trust them as much. It looked like something was broken. Some of the inner gears got knocked out of place. For more than 10 years, his daughter had been his right hand. Now she was gone. It's not that she didn't love her job. It's just that love doesn't last forever. The fans also saw it. In recaps of episodes and forum threads, her disappearance was talked about more than just a little. People who watched talked about the change in tone and the missing spark, which wasn't drama or thrill but balance. The woman who had kept things moving in the background was gone and couldn't change the path. It made the show feel cooler. What happened next would show how much the power needed her to keep quiet. She wasn't trying to make a point in Toronto though. She didn't read the notes or watch the episodes. She was taking care of a child. She was getting her sense of self back. She was learning what it was like to live without ounces of pressure. Forecasters didn't show up, workers didn't gather, and the ground didn't thaw. She had her own time for the first time ever. The past doesn't go away though. There are scars, memories, and quiet times at the end of a long day when your body still hears the sound of drills, and your mind still looks for safety risks. Even though Paradise Hill was her home, it was also the place where she was formed. And the fire that forms you can also burn you away. The people around her didn't know how bad that break was. They must have thought it was impossible to leave behind a multi-million-dollar inheritance. But there have always been ghosts with gold. When you dig up an ounce of dirt, it holds the weight of decisions you made, time you lost, and sacrifices you forgot about. Monica knew that better than anyone else. She didn't just work as a miner. She took it in. She felt the stress of being a woman in a world ruled by men, where people always questioned her abilities. Not only did she represent herself, but also her family, the team, and the show. She did this without breaking. She wasn't just carrying tools on her shoulders. They left a memory. It got too heavy. There was a call to the north that didn't sound like a siren song, but like a pulse. It was something softer and deeper. She felt like a part of her body was still attached to the dirt roads, the icy creeks, and the machines she used to run. She hadn't turned away from it. She had just learned that being respected and needed are two different things. We will be able to run the dirt faster after getting rid of all this extra stuff. I also think that we should start making money here as soon as we can get this dirt moving.
The daily grind went on back at Paradise Hill. A lot of new people came and went. Broken machines were fixed. The pay dirt was moved, cleaned, and weighed. It worked, but it wasn't the same. Coordination got worse. Morale was shaky. Kevin tried his best to fill in the blanks. Tony put more effort into operations, but the flow was broken. It turned, but it clanked instead of purred. There was a lot of silence inside the Beets family. No one said sorry, asked for her return, or made a public effort to do so. There is only silence and an empty spot. No one said what they all knew. It could have been pride, fear, or the Beets' way of never calling pain by its name. Monica was very important, and now they were having a hard time without her. Fans hoped that they would come back. Rumors filled the news, but Monica didn't say anything. Not because she was angry, but because she wanted peace. She didn't have to worry about the next fire fix or shift change for the first time. She had become so connected to the family business that leaving felt like cutting off a piece of herself. But as the months went by, that area began to heal. It still pulled at the legacy. As a child, her daughter would know that her mom had shaped a piece of the Yukon. She knew her name was more than just a line in the credits. It was an important part of one of the most famous mining companies in North America. And that kid might ask her mother one day why she left. She will decide if she comes back or not. Not as a spare part or a safe extra pair of hands, but as a leader, an equal, or someone whose worth doesn't need to be explained. What will also be clear is if she doesn't come back. One that wasn't made to protest, but to be clear. Some of it is just standing, breathing, and leaving. People are sometimes bravest when they let go of what made them who they were. It's not that it wasn't real, it just doesn't fit anymore. Beets didn't give up her job. She took a step forward, in a different life where she didn't have to give up everything to stay in the room. She turned away from gold. But did the Empire ever deserve her? Share your ideas in the box below. To see more, don't forget to follow and like.